Just giving an input on this case, because like I said, this is an unfortunate situation.
Okay, we need to start first with your name.
Oh, Brenda Cobb.
You're Miss Cobb. All right, Miss Cobb, and you are Preston Cobb's mother. Thank you for being here. It's good for him that you're here. I do want to hear from you. This isn't he said, she said time to say, oh, those Wilson parents don't know what they're talking about. That's not going to help your son right now. But I do want to hear from you about your son, because of course the part I'm focused on is the terrible decision he made that night. And I know he's more than that. He's been alive for 20 years, so there's good in there as well. And so if you want to tell me about that, I'd love to hear about it. I heard some already, but you are uniquely positioned to help me understand that Mr. Cobb is more than a kamikaze driver in June of 2023. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. So since this incident happened, it has impacted Preston. Preston, of course, all of them were in the hospital. Of course, I reached out to the family because no one could contact them. And the officer that was on the case said, hey, this is their address, because no one could contact the family, you know, or whatever. So I ended up getting the address and knew where that was, which was near my house. And I was able to go to the door and, you know, hey, you know, it was hard for me to go to somebody and say, hey, your son has been in an accident, but hard for them to ask, well, what happened? Who did it? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's hurtful for me because everybody's life has been impacted. You know what I'm saying? You know, his life has changed forever. Everybody's life has changed forever. Even when we was in the hospital, I was by their side because I felt their pain. Even though my son was on one level up, I was down there on their level too, because it was I felt it was my duty to be there for everybody. And Preston did go through. He was in a coma too. He couldn't speak, you know. He still today, you know, has issues remembering things. I have to coach him. You know, I have to pretty much baby him, but he's in a form where he can move. So it has impacted him as well. You know, no parent would think that they will go through something like this because I didn't raise Preston. He didn't grow up in a household to hang with the wrong people. You know, I didn't raise him. I've always coached him to make the right decisions. And unfortunately, it happened. He's accepted, and he's accepted what he did was, you know, wrong by getting behind the wheel. But Preston he was picked up from my house. It was on camera. He was picked up, and that was given, all that information was given to the officer. And, you know, what happened after him getting behind the wheel or what made it happen, I wasn't there. I don't know what played a role in or what was going on in the car. You know, he don't even remember what happened still to this day. He just know I blacked out. We don't know.
Your son was talking in his coma.
All right, Mr. Wilson, I'm gonna have to have you drop from the call if you keep interrupting, okay?
And, you know, it is an unfortunate situation. But since you know, Preston, he didn't just get out the hospital, come home. He left the hospital after being there for a period of time. He had to go to the Shepherd Center. He had to learn how to rewalk. It's a lot of things he had to do, and then when he came home, he had to have come in, a nurse come in and look after him while I was at work, and still me having to take him to physical therapy. So it wasn't you know, I got out and he you know what I'm saying? He had to go through some things as well. But, you know, since it has happened, you know, Preston has stayed out of trouble. He has finished high school. He has maintained employment for the past 3 years. So that just, you know, right there speaks level, because he could have had this and continue getting in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I just, you know, want to say to the family, I'm sorry that happened, because, you know, we never expected this, you know. you know, we never expected this. We, as parents, we can coach our children and, you know, hope they do the right things, but, you know, I'm not here to put the blame on nobody, child, because all my kids made a bad decision, and that unfortunate it has changed everybody's life, regardless of what condition somebody in. But I know that whatever happened that night, it wasn't nothing intentional. It's just that it was a bad decision. Because I could be on the other end and be trying to understand why, but I can't ask myself why, but he has accepted that I did wrong and I never should have, you know, I should have listened. Because it goes from not listening. So, you know, that's all I want to say.
Do you know, Ms. Cobb, how any of the other young men are doing? I don't know if any of those kids, they were kids then, were closer to your son, and so you might have a connection through those families, so you could say, yes, one kid, there were no injuries, another kid, he lost his left leg, or...
Well, as far as who he was hanging with, these wasn't Preston's friends. It was just, hey, I think three of the other ones, they went to the same high school, and then, like I said, I don't know, Preston didn't know Darrell, but it's more like someone knew someone else. And
Right, Boss knew Darrell, and he brought Darrell along. And my question isn't who knows whom so much as if you are aware of how the other young men are doing. I know how Darrell is not doing, which is not well at all. And we heard a little bit about Boss Newton. There were some issues, but the prosecution team couldn't track down his family.
Right, as far as, I don't know their condition because, you know, from the hospital, there was some, you know, situations where I had to, you know, step back and just for legal purposes, step back because it was more of other issues going on. Then let's focus on what's at hand, our children's well-being. But, you know, I just know what injuries they sustained because my insurance, you know, had to deal with me and, you know, compensate Darrell and the other three. But as far as how they are doing, it was just, you know, I need to step back and, you know, just like he couldn't have me contact, I needed to do the same.
Okay, got it. Well, I appreciate you being here for your son. It's a good sign for him. He's got family behind him. I know you're not the only one here for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Rios, anyone else besides Mr. Cobb?
Do you want to speak? I'm sorry, I think his other grandmother, Ms. Jones wants to speak.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Say your first message.
Joyce Jones.
Hello, Ms. Jones. Tell me your connection to Mr. Cobb. Your grandma. Okay, what do you want to share with me?
That Preston, unfortunately, just stay in tune with what has been said. Preston has never been a bad kid. He's always been a kid that pretty much listen to what we tell him to do. And, you know, it's just, when kids get together, they have a tendency to make bad decisions. And that was one of the ones he made. And it wasn't because he was trying to be ruthless or trying to be out of pocket. My mind is wondering.
That's okay. I know what you're saying. This isn't a situation where he said, I'm going to get these guys and I'm going to drive a car into a tree. That doesn't make sense because, of course, he was in the car. And so he was just as at risk of going through the windshield and dying as anyone else.
And our heart do go out to the family tremendously. You know, we are very, very hurt that the family have to endure this. But, you know, it wasn't something that was set out for revenge or any type of malice whatsoever. And, you know, we just want them to understand that, you know, we don't want for their child to be suffering, just like we don't want our child to suffer as well. You know, and you know, even if he had to do community service some kind of way for that, to attain that, we do mean well for their child, and we mean well for Preston as well. And, you know, we just like for them to just take another breath and just say, hey, that wasn't intentional.
I hear you. And it's not their job to forgive. They may get to that point, but that's not their role. Their role is to lift up their son, and they're trying to do that. And it is for them, I think, going to be a forever issue. It doesn't sound like, I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't sound like Darrell is going to suddenly wake up one day and be able to uncurl his hands and move his legs again. So I hope that the family is able to move forward, but I also hear you loud and clear that this isn't one of those cases where there is the bad guy who was out to get other people. That would be maybe if you pushed the car off a cliff with the other people in it, and he wasn't, and that wasn't this case. Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cobb, it is your turn if there's anything that you want to say. But like I said, you're not required to say anything at all.
I just want to say I'm fully sorry for what happened that day. And like I said, I didn't do it intentionally. I never told nobody they couldn't get out of the car or nothing. It was like we was all in the car. Everybody was jumping around. I guess we were just being lit at the time, and then everything happened. But ever since that day, like, you know, I distanced myself from that type of people. These was people that stayed in my neighborhood. We all clicked up, and I just wanted to fit in with them because what I thought was cool, what they was already doing, I thought it was cool. I started getting mixed up with it, but I tried my hardest to stay away from situations that I know will put me back in the place I'm in now.
Talk to me a little bit. I don't want you to tell me facts about it because it may be an open case, but it sounds like just a couple months ago, you got arrested for driving without a license.
No.
No?
No.
I see Mom, but I'm not asking you, I'm asking him.
But I was arrested for a 2023 case that I had completed. That was when I was in school. I was rearrested because I guess however they do the court system in Clay County, they didn't never clear it because the plan, what the judge told me was I do the program and they expunge it off my record, but I guess they didn't never finish doing it. So when I got in the car accident with my mother, when the lady was writing the police report, she got my license and seen that everything that I had already did my stuff for, I still had an active warrant, so I had to redo the process and repay the money, but I got everything back and everything has been cleared.
Okay. So the arrest that we heard about from February of this year was sort of a rearrest for something that happened a long time ago.
2023, but I was not driving. Okay. I was not driving or nothing. It was just
in February of this year, you weren't driving.
Never driving.
It just was for something in 23.
Yes.
Okay. That fits a little more because Ms. Smith-Man mentioned something about 23. Do you have anything different on that?
I do see the arrest from this, but I also do see a similar case from 2023.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Cobb, I find that there is a factual basis for your plea. You were driving this car super fast, it hit a tree, and there were tragic consequences. We had a case like this that went to trial not too long ago, that even older than this, and it was even worse outcome. It was friends who were, what'd you say? We got lit, they were goofing around, cement wall, 2 of them died. And the issue was a little different because they couldn't quite tell who the driver was. The accident was so bad and bodies were everywhere. So the big debate was who was driving. Here we don't have that struggle, but it's the same situation where they're all friends. So it's not someone's out to get someone else. It's just this question of recklessness and what are the consequences for that. So I do find a factual basis. I also find that your plea is knowing and voluntary, meaning you've understood what we've talked about. You've told me you don't have any questions, and it's voluntary. No one's forcing you to enter this plea. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
So I'll accept your plea. Ms. Rios, can someone in my office sign the indictment for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Smith? And Mr. Cobb, is it okay if we sign the indictment for you indicating your guilty plea?
Yes, sir.
You want to be sentenced as a first offender. You qualify for that. You don't have any felony convictions. This is on the more serious end of things to get first offender. But if you are sincere in your commitment to making better choices going forward, first offender protects you in the sense that there'll be a sentence and there'll be consequences for this. But unlike Mr. Wilson's situation, they won't be forever consequences, because at the end of your sentence, if you did well, it can all be sealed up and you can try to move forward in life. First offender, that's the benefit, is that it can come off your record. The risk is that while you're under this sentence, if you mess up and get in new trouble for something, you'll have the new charges, but you also can have your first offender status taken away, and you can be resentenced as if you pled guilty and we start all over again. So it could be a worse outcome than it is today. Do you understand how first offender works?
Yeah, I understand.
Do you want to be treated as a first offender?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll do that. So I'm talking to you, Mr. Cobb, but I hope Mr. Wilson's family is listening, and I know your mom and your grandmother are listening. This isn't about who picked up whom. It really isn't. It doesn't matter who started out driving. It's about who was driving those seconds leading up to impact. And that was you. It wasn't anyone else. It wasn't Mr. Newton. Clearly wasn't Mr. Wilson or the two other guys in the car. And so you all may have been doing kind of the same kind of things. And it's kids goofing off, but it was goofing off as if you were playing with a loaded gun. When you're driving 100 miles an hour, you might as well have been throwing a loaded gun at each other, and you hope it doesn't go off because it hits the ground and someone gets shot. You are not a professional race car driver, and your ability, none of the guys in the car, to figure out what to do when there's a sudden turn or there's a tree in your way going 120 something bad's going to happen. And I don't believe for a moment that you had it out for anyone in that car. Because the way to get at someone is not to drive a car you're in into a tree. It would be to do something to them when they're not in the car or hit them with the car. So I don't think this was, your grandmother used the word ruthless or malicious. I don't think you wanted anything bad to happen to anyone, including yourself. But what you did was so dangerous and so reckless. It clearly had consequences for you. You were injured, but just hearing about the consequences for Darrell Wilson, and I don't know how Boss Newton is doing. I don't even have names for the other guys. It's this kind of situation where there are repercussions for those other consequences. And while I appreciate that since that time, you've done pretty well. There was an arrest for battery against a pregnant female. I don't need to hear about it. It's just an arrest. But by and large, we certainly haven't repeated this. You didn't get arrested again for speeding in a crazy way somewhere or getting into a wreck. But we can't erase this. This doesn't go away. And part of what we do when judges are thinking about what's the right sentence, you want to rehabilitate, and you've brought in resources that are all about rehabilitation. But there is sometimes a punishment aspect to sentencing, because what happened was wrong and it had real serious consequences. And I have to weigh that as well, and deterrence to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. I think what you went through and what you've learned, I'm gonna call them your friends for purposes of this case. You knew these guys. What they've gone through hopefully would deter you from doing this again. But there's the reality of what Ms. Thompson and Mr. Wilson are having to work through and support for the rest of Darrell's life. And when I weigh all that, Mr. Cobb, I think that the right sentence in this case is an overall sentence of 7 years to serve 2 years with a balance on probation. It is a custodial portion that reflects the seriousness of what happened and the tragedy of what happened, and the fact that punishment flows from making those kinds of decisions. I understand the recommendation of 5 years, but I also very much understand dumb things that 18-year-olds do. I have an 18-year-old son, and he is smart, like you're smart, but he's also dumb because he's 18. And he will make bad decisions. And you made going that fast with all those people in the car, who knows who was wearing a seatbelt and who wasn't, a tragically bad decision. And it has cost Darrell Wilson his ability to move about in life like every young man would like. You've still got all those freedoms. And once you serve your time and you'll be paroled, you have no criminal history, you'll gain all those freedoms back in a way that Darrell won't. If you want to have a family, if you be able to care for your mother and your grandmother, have a career, be a senior executive at Amazon, not just a guy doing customer fulfillment. Those are all the possibilities for you that were taken from Darrell because of the decision you made. So I'm just trying to explain to you the thinking behind what I'm doing. I am not deaf to the good things that people have said about you, and they're all true. You are more than what just happened today. And that's why you'll be able to be all those things when you're done with the custodial part of your sentence. You will then be on probation. It's a first offender sentence. The only special condition of probation that I'm imposing is that you need to have no contact with any of the people who are in the car or their families. So even though you may want to reach out to Mr. Wilson's family to say, hey, just want to see how Darrell's doing, that outreach would need to come from them. And if they want to check in, they could do that. But they're going to do their best to move forward, and you won't be a part of that. You have done well while you have been out on bond. And so I'm okay with a delayed reporting date. In other words, you don't have to go into custody right now. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk with Ms. Rios about when you want to turn yourself in. It's here. You come back to court. It's not months from now. It would be in the next few weeks that you need to come back here. But I'm going to let you and your family and Ms. Rios talk about that. And then you can let me know if you want to just get started today or if you want to have a reporting date. But know this, in case you get any thoughts about, well, I could use the delay reporting date as a way to get somewhere else. If you're not here on the date and time we agree on, then I will follow the state's recommendation. And the sentence that I'm not actually signing any paperwork today. I sign the paperwork whenever you turn yourself in. So if you want to go in today, I'll sign it today. If we agree it's date X, then I'll sign that paperwork. But I'll actually have two different sentences. I'll have the 7 to do 2. I'll also have the 10 serve 5. And if you're not there on the day you're supposed to turn yourself in, I'll sign the 10 serve 5. You'll bot yourself 3 more years in prison. And eventually you're going to run a stop sign, you're going to get pulled over, and that warrant will be sitting there and you'll need to deal with that. So I encourage you to be here on the day you need to be here, assuming you want a delayed turn-in. Did you and Mr. Cobb talk about that at all, Ms. Rios?
Not a turn-in date, yes. We'll go outside and.
Okay, please do. One last thing. I didn't impose as a special condition participating in any programming only because I'd want to give Mr. Cobb the opportunity to think through what's the best fit when he gets out. And that's a great program and he'll still be of age to be in it. But that's a decision for family to make when he's finished up with the custodial portion. Okay. Before you go, do you have any questions about anything I've said about your sentence?
No, I understood everything you said.
Okay. Go chat with Ms. Rios and let me know. Is Mr. Clark in the courtroom? Hey, Mr. Clark, if you could come on up to the podium. So, Ms. Niles gave me a summary of what you're trying to do and the situation we bumped into. In order for me to authorize you to not have to pay the filing fees, I need something more than just your say-so. It's not me doubting you. It's just we're required to have documentation that you qualify. It's an EBT card, or it's something from the Department of Labor saying Mr. Clark hasn't worked the last 2 quarters, or because they would have a record if you were working. It sounds like right now, you don't have something that falls into any of those
I
categories.
just got the paper from True Light when they let me go when I got laid off. And
Right, but the problem is, I don't know that since you got laid off by True Light, you didn't start working for Wells Fargo or for Amazon. And you're saying no, but I have to ultimately have documentation that we put in there, because Bill Gates could come in and say, I'm not working at Microsoft anymore. And he can't get one of these. He would need to document that he's been unemployed for a while. So you can get something from the Department of Labor. They are able to generate that because they have a record of earnings, and it would show for the last quarter you didn't earn anything. Some people use as a proxy, they have a EBT card. And you can't qualify for that unless you are struggling economically. But I don't have that kind of evidence from you. And that's what I would need to see in order for me to give this the green light.
so today is the 7th day of the the apartment is already paid in full. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get this on my eviction on myself. So how much time I got? Because I caught the train and the bus, and the day the 7th day.
So if the rent is paid in full, you owe $8,000 to the landlord. Why would they be evicting you?
Oh, they're not going to do it, but I'm trying to make sure no evictions on my record from here on out. Because I just put the check in their hand the other day ago.
So you're good, but with you won't be evicted. You want to keep your record clear.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Fair question. I don't know that you need to appeal the ruling so much as you could get it set aside. But it's a good question. I haven't run into someone. Usually the scenario is, hey, I haven't paid, I'm hoping to pay, and I want to appeal because maybe that'll freeze it, which it won't, because as you've learned, you got to put money either in the registry or into the hand of your landlord. Of course, that begs the question of, if you just gave them $8,000,
I paid
No.
in full.
okay, you paid him full, you gave him $1 million. How is it that you're coming in here saying,
Because I was told this is my first time, so I don't want no eviction put on me. Like
I understand.
my record. When I move from there, I want to be able to get another place in my name.
right, because that little mark will follow you around.
All
Yep.
around.
So if they don't evict you, if they don't get a writ of possession,
Yes, sir.
then they're not evicting you. So that's what I can tell you. If you can get me some documentation from the Department of Labor or something else, I don't mean to limit you to that. If there's some other way you can show me the piggy bank is empty,
Absolutely.
or I haven't been working, or I've got the EBT card. Those are the ways we go about it. The tricky part about the piggy bank is empty is you could say, look, there's nothing in my Chase account, but no one knows that in your Wachovia account, there's $100,000. Because I don't know all your bank accounts. That's why Department of Labor is pretty thorough, and then the EBT card. So
So I have to today by being the 7th, I still have to have this done. This have to be done today. I have to.
if you think that you have to have a petition of review filed, then yep, I guess if this is the 7th day. But if it's paid in full and you aren't in fact going to be removed, they aren't going to get a writ of possession, then you may not have an issue anyway.
Okay. Then.
And that's a great question to ask folks at the, I don't know if you got help from the landlord tenant clinic, but there are people who could answer that for you that, hey, no harm, no foul, because they never got that writ of possession.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
I'm here tomorrow doing the same thing. If
But if
you
you
do,
forgot-
I understand that's day 8. I get the math, but you may still want to do something. And so if you get documentation, or you end up talking with someone who gives you a better sense of how this will all flow, don't be shy about coming back here, if you need to do that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Ms. Rios and Mr. Cobb, if you all will come back up, please.
Your Honor, we would request a turn-in date of June 1st.
Okay. I can't say no to that because I just said yes to that. So we'll do June 1. That is 3 weeks and a few days from now. It's going to be a complicated few weeks for you because you know what's coming, and it's not a happy thing that's coming. My counsel to you is make good choices between now and then. And most of all, be here, this courtroom, you've been here before, by 9 o'clock on June 1. I will be here. In fact, I'll probably be sitting right here because we're supposed to pick a jury that day.
You be here.
You need to be here. Don't bring lots of extra stuff. Because whatever you're wearing, I don't know that you'll see again. So, don't bring a nice watch or this or that. Just real basic clothes. But come here, don't go to the jail. And then deputies will take you in and we'll go from there. Okay? You've got it tomorrow, and I don't want you to lose sight of that. You're going to do some time for this tragic outcome. But then you'll be done with that time and you can move forward in a way, like I said, Mr. Wilson won't. And this isn't going to heal Mr. Wilson. And I don't expect his parents to say, great, we're all set now. But it helps everyone understand that what happened to him meant something. And that there are consequences for the person who brought it about, unintentionally, but who nonetheless brought it about. Okay?
I understand.
I will see you on what day?
June 1st.
June 1st, 9 a.m.
9:09.
Feel free to be early. If you're going to be late, you need to be blowing up Ms. Rios's phone saying, I'm on my way. Look, here's my cam. I'm filming. I'm on I-20. And she'll let me know and we'll be relaxed about it. But if it's 9:15 and there's no sign of you, then I sign the 10-5. Okay?
I understand.
All right. Reach out to Ms. Rios if something comes up between now and then.
I got you.
All right. Ms. Rios, anything else?
Your Honor, thank you.
It would be 7 to serve 2 on all 3 counts, and they'd all run concurrently. Ms. Smith, anything else in Mr. Cobb's case? Is the theft by receiving? It can't. Really? It must have been a cheap car.
No, you're correct, you're correct, you're correct.
No, it's more than $5,000. So it's, yeah, 7 to do 2 on all 3 counts. All right.